So I'm going to give you the key take-home messages first, and then for those who are interested, you can go through the analysis with me and I'll show you how you work it all out. America is probably 20 days away from total coronavirus infection. There are probably 1 million cases of the coronavirus in the country rather than the 30,000 that you have from the confirmed data at the moment. And in terms of death toll, if everything goes absolutely the best possible that it can, you're looking at about 1,000 dead. More realistically, a better case scenario is going to be 10, 20,000, that sort of thing. And that's assuming that quarantine is more or less locked down completely tomorrow. Everyone takes quarantine 100% seriously for the next 6 weeks, that sort of thing. Then you're looking at 10, 20,000. And if you don't take quarantine seriously, it can be anywhere from there up to about 5 million. So what I have here is the coronavirus spread data for the month of March. On the 1st of March, there were 65 confirmed cases of coronavirus. On the 22nd of March, there were about 30,000. So, how do you get all of that from just this little curve here? Well, when I first did the analysis of this data for China, they had a similar sort of set of data like this for China. The thing that came across very quickly is the spread rate. The rate at which this curve is accelerating was about 30%. That means that everyone who has the coronavirus, on average, spreads it to about 30% of an extra person per day, or it doubles in about 3 days, and that means that you do some little ballpark calculations that it has the potential to spread throughout the world in 2 to 3 months, that sort of thing. We are going to do some modeling on the actual observed coronavirus data for America for March. And this is going to be our model. So these are going to be our days. And our days only need to go down to about 60 or so. Boom. And then we're going to need an infection rate. And the infection rate is going to be 0 in the first instance. So on the first day we have 65. On the second day, in this first model, everyone who gets the virus keeps it forever, right? You can't get rid of it in this first model. I'll do a more sophisticated one later where you can get rid of it because you get really important stuff out of that as well. Okay, so on day 2, the number of people who have it is the people who had it on day 1 plus the number of people who had it on day 1 times by the spread factor. And that needs an absolute reference. Boom. So if there is no spread rate, I don't see any spread in the virus, which is kind of what you expect. And we're only going to do this up to day 22 in the first instance, because day 22 is where we're at the moment. And that means that we can only affect what happens after day 22. Arguably, we should have probably done stuff about here to had real effects. Basically, every 3 days, you double the number who are going to die, ish. Anyway, right, so where we at? Infection rate. Let's put it in at 10%. Yeah, you can see that the modeling data is still nowhere near as much as the observed data. 20%, still not there. 30%, still not there. 40%, and it's too much. Now our modeling data is above the actual data. So we need a number of about 0.35, which is very comparable to the spread rate that I got with the China data. Cool. So the very first thing that we can do with this is we can work out from this spread rate how long it will be until the entire of America is infected. Now, America's got about 300 million people in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take a look at this column and put it in millions. So this is going to be infected in millions. This is just so it's easier to, when this number here gets up to 300, that means that everyone in America is infected. Let's see if we can do this. Is that going to work? Yeah, good. And boom, there we go. Excellent. So we are currently on day 22. And total infection occurs on about day 52. Can you see day 52 there? There you go, day 52. So that's 1 month from now until everyone is infected. And this makes the assumption that the number infected here is actually correct. That is, everyone who is in these statistics is everyone who has coronavirus in the entire country. If you are realistic, you would add a 0 to that number, right? That for everyone who actually is confirmed with having the coronavirus, there are 10 who don't. Turns out this is a conservative estimate. We'll come back to why it's a conservative estimate later. But let's put that in as our new number. That means there's about 1/3 people now in America with the coronavirus. And that also means that you hit total infection at about a week earlier. So we're on day 22. By day 44, you have every single person in America is infected. And so let's put this up to 60. So boom, there you go. This is about total infection. Now, there are certain things that we can do from now on. And the most obvious one is we can change that spread rate. Let's give ourselves a post-today spread rate. Quarantine goes into effect, and now all of a sudden, the spread rate is going to be 0 all the way down. So we basically we don't get a single extra case of the coronavirus. That's what a 100% quarantine would look like. Now, in my model, people can't lose the coronavirus yet, so the number stays constant, but they can't spread it to anyone either. Like I was saying, we'll come to a more realistic model there. But what if quarantine was only 50% effective? So our spread rate goes down from 35% to 17%. And we have to put it in the right place. There we go. Now, there is actually a change in the gradient there. And the place where you can most easily see it is we take a look at the numbers. So if we don't do anything, we have the current spread rate. We get to total infection at about the 45-day mark. Well, what if our quarantine is 50% effective? Well, now, on that same date that we would have had the entire country infected, we've only got about 10 million people infected. And what if we were more determined and that we reduced the spread rate by a factor of 3? Now there's only 3 million infected. And what if we take our quarantine really seriously? You can see the curve is starting to, the second exponent here is not as steep anymore. So let's make it 90% effective quarantine. Now, again, by the same date, we've only got 0.7 million infected. And of course, if it's 100% effective, boom, you don't get anyone else infected. Now, I told you that I was going to do something a little more sophisticated here, where people can actually get rid of the virus as well. And this is where you actually get to make the prediction of the total number of people who are likely to die from the coronavirus. So, the most important thing out of all of this is, from today to total infection, you're probably looking at, 20, 30 days, that sort of thing. So let's put this back to the most optimistic numbers that we can have, which is that there genuinely were only 65 cases of coronavirus in America on the 1st of March. Right, now I'm going to make a copy of all of this. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I might want to compare these models later at some point. Good. Now, if I want people to lose the virus as well, I need a time for which the virus exists in people. So if someone gets the virus on the 1st, I'm going to say that on the 14th here, everyone who got the virus on the 1st is either killed by it on the 14th or they get better by the 14th. every single person only had the virus only lives in someone for 2 weeks. Either you win after 2 weeks or the virus wins. So I need to know how many people get the virus on a particular day. So on the first day there were 65 people. On the second day there were 87 people. So I know that the number of people who got the virus on that day is 87 minus 65. Boom. So this is total new infected. And I know that in 2 weeks' time, which is going to be on the 16th, somewhere around there, those people will have either recovered. So I'm going to say that 98% of them recover, like that. And I'm going to say that the other 2% die. Boom. And of course, the total there should be the total number of people, and it's not. Why isn't it? 98. There we go. 0.098. 0.98. There we go. Good. So, 22 people got better. Half a person died. Now, we can roll that one forwards until today. Okay. And we can roll the projected survivals and deaths. So these are these are survived per day. These are deaths per day. And we can roll that one forward till today, right? So we shouldn't have had the first death from coronavirus till mid-March. Didn't quite work out that way. And so if this is deaths per day, then the total deaths that we should have had up until now is just the sum of all of this. So it should just be the sum of all of these numbers here. So boom, we should have had 10 deaths from the coronavirus by the 22nd of March. How many deaths did we actually have? It was actually about 400. And the reason for this, of course, is there weren't really 65 cases here in the first place. There were many, many more cases of coronavirus, and not all of them were detected. So, one of the ways that they've used to estimate the actual number of cases is like this. You know what the incubation period is between, sort of first showing symptoms and dying is about 2 weeks. And you know that 2% of the people die. So really, the number infected here needs to be about 40 times higher than we've actually got. So if we do that, we put this in at 65 times by 40, you'll now see that the total number of expected deaths is, in the model, is pretty close to what we saw in reality. Now that also means that we can make the prediction from here, right? Because we know that we can't stop any of these people, all these people who are infected here, all the people who are infected here, there's nothing that we can do to make them get rid of the disease. So the minimal time, the maximum death spike will always be 2 weeks after you stop the quarantine, which is there. Okay. So that means that we can now take a look at the projected death toll here. And this is assuming that we kill everything tomorrow, right? There is no single case of the virus after tomorrow. We're just looking at the people who are currently infected dying. You're looking at 10 to 30,000-ish people dying just from those who are infected as we speak. Now, and let's take the most optimistic case scenario, which is there genuinely were only 65 cases of the coronavirus in the country on the 1st of March. Now your total deaths is about 700. Right? So these are brackets for you to judge roughly how many people you are going to expect to die in America in the coming weeks. And so let's put that back to what it was. Now we can see what the effects of quarantine are likely to be. These people got the disease. By this time, there were 900 people who have to be taken off the list. They're either they had it and got better, or they had it and they died. So we need to change this formula slightly to the total number who are now have the virus are the people who had it yesterday, minus the people who have to be taken off the list, plus the people who had it yesterday, minus the people who got better, times by the new spread rate. Okay, so I'm going to put the new spread rate in there, which is going to be 0.35 for the moment, and that needs to come all the way down, Boom. So we're going to have a spread rate for each day. So this is business as normal. You do business as normal, and I'm going to have to do one more modification on one of these formula in a second. Okay, so the worst case scenario is the entire country is infected by about day 40, and 2 weeks later, the death toll spikes at about quite a lot per day, and you have about 4 million dead. If your quarantine is much better, so I'm going to make it half. We're going to make the spread rate half. Now, on day 40, rather than having 300 million infected, we're down to about 20 million infected, and our death toll has gone down from 4 million to 0.2 million. And if we make this much better again, we're going to reduce it by a factor of, we're going to reduce the spread rate by a factor of 3. And now you can sort of see it transitioning from one exponent to the other exponent. And now by day 40, we're at about 4 million infected and 76,000 dead. And if we get a 90% reduction in the spread rate of the virus, you're getting something like this, where you're now down to about 30,000 dead, and on day 40, you're looking at 500,000 infected, which is actually less than you have infected now. So you can see why it's actually desperately important that you get the quarantine. Yeah, I mean, it's quite disturbing watching the people in places like England. England, by the way, or Britain, is not that far off where America is in terms of virus spread. Right? And you take a look at these pictures from England, and people are just going around like it's business as normal. Well, no. If you do that, you're probably only reducing the virus spread by maybe half, which means you're reducing the total death toll by a factor of 10, but you're barely breaking the stride of the spread of the virus. You've got to get the spread of the virus down to by 90% to have even a sensible effect. And more realistically, you want to be reducing the virus spread by 99.9%. Anyway, so that is an analysis of the virus spread, what you can expect in the next 2 weeks in America. And the best case scenario is you're probably looking at least at 10,000 dead. And you take these numbers as projections that within 3 days you'll be having 200 dying per day. By the end of the month, you'll have about 1,000 dying per day, right? So those will be numbers that'll give you an idea whether these predictions were on track. So with that, I wish you good luck with the quarantine, and of course, keep your hands clean and stay safe. Now, normally I don't put out this many videos per month. I usually like to put in much more effort into making the videos. But in this case, I think it's really important to get this sort of information out there, because I see a lot of people talking about the importance of quarantine, but it's all hand-waving stuff, and nothing quite puts it into perspective as seeing the chart that shows you, based on the actual data, that if you don't do anything, your entire country will be infected in 20 days. But I wanted to give my patrons warning, but that my Patreon is set up per video. So you might want to make sure, seeing as I've put out more videos this month than normal, that you cap it at something sensible per month. Because I like you guys, and I don't want you getting any surprises like that.